is the Maxfind Max4 Pro. I've tested this electric skateboard across more than 100 miles and benchmarked its top speed, acceleration and range. Today we're going to take a deep dive into my experience with the Max4 Pro and see how it compares to similarly priced models. The Max4 Pro is Maxfind's entry-level offering for riders looking for a full-sized electric skateboard. It's geared with two 750-watt hub motors, a customized Hobbywing 9005 ESC, and a 158 Wh quick swap Samsung battery. It's available with 96mm PU wheels or 105mm cloud wheels. The board is equipped with proprietary 45° Max 2 trucks and 98 APU bushings. The deck is made of 8 layers of Canadian maple with a carbon fiber coating for a sleek look. The board weighs 16.4 pounds and has a max load capacity of 220 pounds. It all sounds good on paper, but let's jump into my benchmark tests and take a look at its real-world performance. The Maxfind Max4 Pro uses two 750 watts M5 hub motors yielding a 1500 watts nominal power output. They advertise a 25 miles per hour top speed. Using racing grade GPS performance logging gear, I put that to the test. As a 170 pounds rider, I was able to reach a top speed of 23.1 miles per hour. It should be said, however, that the weather is quite cold here in Denmark at the moment, which affects the power delivery from the battery, and the road surface was wet when testing. Also, this test was run using the regular PU wheels, but you can generally expect a slightly higher top speed with the cloud wheels on. In better conditions and with the cloud wheels, I'm confident I would be able to reach the 25 miles per hour. Anyways, stacking up the results against comparable models, it outperforms the Backfire G2, while the Posway T2 and Skateboard Tornado 2 score higher top speeds. All in all, these are fairly good results that place it somewhere in the middle of similarly priced models across the industry. The motors on the Max4 Pro have 5 Nm of torque each, which is quite good as torque has a direct influence on the acceleration. It's the same M5 motors you see on the more expensive Maxfind FF Street, so it should have similar acceleration performance, maybe even slightly better thanks to the Max4 Pro being about 20% lighter. Across my acceleration tests, I averaged 0 to 15 miles per hour in 4.67 seconds and 0 to 20 miles per hour in 8.02 seconds. These results follow suit with the top speed results. It once again beats the G2 while falling milliseconds shy of the Posway T2. The Tornado 2 once again wins this test. Maxfind stated that the Max4 Pro can handle inclines of up to 30%. We don't have that steep inclines in my area, but I managed to test it on an 800 feet incline that peaks around 20%. As the Maxfind Max4 Pro has a good amount of torque and motor power, it handled the incline surprisingly well. The Tornado 2 is arguably slightly stronger on hills, but it's also notably less smooth to ride. Apart from that, I haven't really tested any boards in this price class that clearly outperforms the Max4 Pro on hills. All in all, really solid motor performance. The Maxfind Max4 Pro is geared with a 36 volts 10S2P Samsung battery with 158 Wh of capacity. Without getting too technical, 10S2P means the battery pack is made up of 2 series of 10 battery cells, which is 20 in total. Maxfind uses Samsung 22P cells for this battery, which is a reliable cell that has been around on the market for more than 10 years now. It provides solid value for your money and stable performance. While there are better performing cells out there today, like the Samsung 30Q cells, they come at a higher price, making the Max4 Pro a better value option in most cases. The Max4 Pro is unique in its design because it has a fast swap battery setup, just like we see on the Maxfind FF series. This means you can buy additional battery packs and get as much or as little range as you would like. Furthermore, you can buy the Maxfind with either 1, 2 or 3 batteries by default. You can always add upon that later. When stacking the 3 battery options up against comparable models, it does become evident that you don't get a whole lot of battery capacity for your money with the single battery edition. However, the 2 battery version goes neck to neck with the Backfire G2 and G3 in value, while the triple battery bundle offers some of the best value you will see in the industry. We'll touch further on what I think about the quick swap battery system later. Maxfind advertised 12 miles of range per battery pack. I put the battery to the test in 3 range tests at various speeds. In the first test, I bottom out the throttle to go as fast as possible most of the time. This gave me 8.3 miles of range. In the second test, I cruised at an average speed of 14.9 miles per hour, and this gave me 10.2 miles of range. This is what I consider the most accurate real-world estimation for others to compare to. In the last test, I prioritized getting as far as possible by riding slower, coasting, and making use of the regen braking. This yielded 13.3 miles of range. All electric skateboards will drop in performance as the battery level gets lower. This drop is often more pronounced with poor quality cells, while the performance remains more stable on higher quality cells. As the Max4 Pro uses reliable Samsung 22P cells, I expected the performance to keep up nicely as the battery level diminished, and my results support that as well. All in all, the battery performance is quite good. The performance retention is solid and there isn't a lot of voltage sag except towards the very end of the charge. But you definitely do have to get the 2 or 3 battery pack with the Max4 Pro if you want to get the most value out of your money. When it comes to the overall board design, there are a lot of great things to highlight. Maxfind have come a long way in refining their products since they first entered the market in 2015, and that comes to show on the Max4 Pro. First off, the weight is one of the Max4 Pro's strong points. Weighing in at a humble 16.4 pounds is lighter than all the previously mentioned boards. It seems to be a core value in the Maxfind business, as the majority of their boards are lightweight and several of them have the quick swap battery functionality. If you're after something that's lightweight in this price class, the Max4 Pro should be at the front line of your considerations. The Max4 Pro features a sizable 8-layer Canadian maple deck. This is the ideal recipe for a sturdy and durable deck. It's not going to provide as much flex as a bamboo or fiberglass combination, but the flex level still suits the ground clearance and makes for an overall stable ride while reducing vibrations felt from the road a bit. Higher flex boards will absorb more shocks, but it comes at the expense of stability, particularly at higher speeds. Also, the deck is completely flat with no concave. I tend to prefer having at least a slight concave for control, but it still does a solid job at keeping my feet comfortably in place. The Maxfind Max4 Pro comes with 96mm 78 APU wheels by default. It's a fairly standard size for electric skateboards and the quality seems to be decent. Through 100 miles with these, I've seen minimal wear, although I've read some people saw them break down over time, and to be honest, just about any PU wheel will do that as you ride extensively. 78A is a fairly soft barometer rating for electric skateboards, and it typically translates to a slightly more comfortable ride with more road grip, though it trades in a bit of top-end speed and durability for that. If you have a little extra money to spend, you may consider going for the 105mm cloud wheels. Although they are a little slower off the line, you'll get a higher top speed, usually around 10%. They are more heavy duty and deal better with rough road conditions. Although I didn't get to test these exact cloud wheels, they are immensely popular and work with a wide range of electric skateboards. Now, this electric skateboard uses proprietary Max 2 45-degree trucks. They measure 10.6 inches and they are forged and CNC'd, which is a pleasant surprise. This is how high-end e-skate trucks are manufactured for optimal strength and precision. The trucks are equipped with 98A elastic cone and barrel bushings. They're fairly stiff, which improves stability while still providing some of the cushioning and bounce you'll be looking for if you want to carve on your board. The trucks were a little loose for me out of the box, so I simply tightened them a bit and now the board feels really stable across the speed spectrum. It carves pretty well, but I generally prefer to ride with a stiffer truck setup so I don't carve a lot myself. All in all, the truck and bushing setup feels high quality and responsive with solid bounce to center. No matter whether you ride loose or tight, this setup does the job well. Now, as mentioned before, the Max4 Pro is unique in that it utilizes a fast swap battery setup. This is also seen on their FF series and it's quite an interesting feature with both pros and cons. One of the main things that speak for this feature is that you can get as much or as little range as you need by purchasing battery packs accordingly, with the option to upgrade later. Also, this reduces the overall weight of the board as it relies on smaller battery packs. On the flip side, you'll have to charge all battery packs separately, although an extra charger is included with each battery. Also, you'll have to stop on your ride to swap batteries from time to time. I personally think the sheer flexibility of this setup outweighs the cons that there may be. It's not gonna speak to everybody, but for those who value a lightweight board with the option to add more range down the line, the Max4 Pro is, in my opinion, the best board in this price class. Now, with a quick swap battery system, manufacturers have to be particularly careful with waterproofing. On the Max4 Pro, the ESC is rated at IPX7, while the motors and battery are rated at IP65. These are by all means very impressive ratings. The hardware enclosure was my initial main concern, as it seems to be just metal on metal, but I actually found I could easily ride on wet surfaces for an extended amount of time without any water entering the enclosure. However, I highly recommend you wipe it down if it's wet after usage, as water has an annoying tendency to creep in through small openings over time. Honestly, the battery and ESC are both well protected. Through use in the rain, I think it's more likely that the power button or the connection wires to the motors will wear down before any crucial components are affected. It should be said that, like all other manufacturers, Maxfind does not cover water damage, so to get the most out of your board for the long term, definitely dry it after riding. I also just wanted to put a quick mention to the fact that the Max4 Pro is actually based on the M5 drive kit also offered by Maxfind. It's all the same hardware apart from the deck, so for those of you who are looking for customization options, you can get exactly the same performance with your preferred deck by getting the M5 drive kit instead. Now, while there are boards that offer similar performance at a slightly lower price, I think the Maxfind Max4 Pro shines brighter than most when it comes to the build and ride quality. From the reliable truck setup and the sturdy and stable deck to the flexible battery setup and strong ingress protection, Maxfind have clearly paid attention to the small details that elevates the riding experience. So the electronic speed controller, also known as the ESC, is the brain of your electric skateboard. If the ESC isn't up to the task, you can have the most reliable motors and battery, but your ride will still suffer. Maxfind utilizes a Hobbywing 9005 ESC that they've customized to optimize the performance with the other electronic components. On electric skateboards in this price range, I always look for something that uses Hobbywing ESCs. I find the acceleration and braking performance to be smoother and more responsive than on other options like the Wand or Yingli ESCs. Even though some of the alternatives offer features like push starting and different braking modes, the Hobbywing boards I've tried always win on operation smoothness, and the Max4 Pro is no exception to that. Now, this board comes with a fairly standard ZYD 7002 remote compatible with most Hobbywing ESCs. This is a tried and tested design that many different brands use, and I've always had a good experience with it. The remote feels great in the hand, its surface is smooth without being slippery, and the wrist strap is a detail I love to see, as you won't lose the remote while riding, which could otherwise result in an accident. The remote has an OLED display that will show important information like the board and remote battery, your speed mode, current speed, riding direction, and an odometer. I also think that the throttle wheel at the top works really well. It's easy to make small and precise adjustments, and the overall latency to communicate that to the board is really low. Also, the braking level follows the speed mode well, so you'll experience softer braking in the slower modes while more stopping power is applied in the faster modes. All in all, the ESC and remote control are solid. It's a proven design that many popular brands in the sub $1,000 category abide by for a good reason. The Maxfind Max4 Pro is a versatile, full-sized electric skateboard with smooth operation and a solid powertrain. While there are several competing boards that match it on specs at a lower price, the low weight and quick swap battery functionality makes for a unique offering, ideal for those who prefer something more portable with adaptable range. The Max4 Pro shines in its build quality. All parts seem to play together really well, from the strong deck and truck setup to the high torque motors and Samsung battery packs. The customized Hobbywing ESC provides smooth acceleration and braking through the responsive low latency remote, and all in all, it's just a really pleasant ride. I honestly don't have any particular issues with the Max4 Pro. It's a well-finished product all around. If you value portability and smooth operation over raw power value, like you'll see on the Skateboard Tornado 2, this is likely one of the best options out there for you. If the idea of having a quick swap battery system speaks to you, the Max4 Pro is gonna be hard to beat in this price range. That marks the end of this review. Thanks for sticking by. If you're interested in getting the Max4 Pro and you want to support our channel in doing so, feel free to use our affiliate link at the top of the description. You'll find a nice coupon code down there as well. If you have any questions about this board, feel free to comment below. More to come real soon. Bye.